The warning ignored. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Confederation fell silent as Elder Zix approached the central podium. His translucent skin, marked with the bioluminescent patterns that indicated extreme age among the Xilari, pulsed with urgency. Representatives from over 500 spacefaring civilizations watched as the Elder's 6 limbs arranged themselves in the formal posture of grave warning. Esteemed colleagues, Elder Zix began, his voice amplified throughout the massive hall. Our deep space reconnaissance has confirmed the discovery of yet another intelligent species in the Orion Arm. They call themselves humans, and they reside on the 3rd planet of a yellow star they've named Sol. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing images of Earth, blue oceans, green continents, swirling white clouds. The imagery shifted to show human cities, infrastructure, and military installations. While their technology remains primitive by our standards, they have yet to achieve faster-than-light travel. Our analysis of their historical and behavioral patterns has led to an unprecedented recommendation. Elder Zix paused, his bioluminescence intensifying. The Reconnaissance and First Contact Committee unanimously proposes classifying Sol 3 as a restricted access world under the Confederation's highest protection protocols. Murmurs spread through the assembly. Restricted access designations were exceedingly rare, typically reserved for worlds harboring species of unique evolutionary importance or civilizations that posed existential dangers. A hulking figure rose from the delegation of the Krasian Empire. Admiral Vorex, his exoskeletal armor gleaming under the chamber's lights, clicked his mandibles in what translated as derision. A primitive pre-FTL species warrants such extreme measures. His translator conveyed the mocking tone perfectly. The Krasian have encountered and subjugated dozens of such civilizations. What possible justification exists for this classification? Talia, the Confederation's chief intelligence officer and a member of the empathic Solari race, stepped forward. Unlike most of her kind who avoided military matters, Talia had devoted centuries to studying conflict behaviors across species. The justification, Admiral, is that humans represent a unique psychological profile we've never encountered in our exploration of 37% of the galaxy. She gestured, and the holographic displays shifted to show human conflicts throughout history. Unlike rational species that calculate the costs of continued resistance, humans often fight hardest when victory seems most impossible. They possess cultural mechanisms for sustaining conflicts across generations, passing grievances to children who never experienced the original harm. The displays showed guerrilla fighters outmaneuvering larger forces, resistance movements surviving against overwhelming odds, and isolated human groups adapting to extreme conditions. Most concerning is their response to external threats, Talia continued. When faced with superior force, instead of submission, humans demonstrate unprecedented rates of technological advancement driven specifically by warfare requirements. Admiral Vorex's mandibles clicked rapidly in what his species considered laughter. You suggest these fragile beings. He gestured at an image of unarmored humans, with their soft exteriors and chemical propellant weapons, pose a threat to modern civilizations, to the Krasian battle fleets. I suggest, Talia replied evenly, that any species who attacks humans will face consequences they cannot predict. Our simulations indicate a 93% probability that human survivors would dedicate their entire civilization to retribution, potentially for centuries. Elder Zix raised his limbs for silence. The committee's recommendation stands. The humans should be left to develop independently until they achieve FTL capabilities, at which point proper diplomatic protocols can be established. The vote was called. While most civilizations supported the recommendation, the Krasian Empire and several of its client states registered formal objections, citing restrictions on resource acquisition and expansion rights in the Orion sector. 3 months later, in the war chamber aboard the Krasian command vessel Inevitable Conquest, Admiral Vorex reviewed the invasion plans. 27 battleships and over 100 support vessels had been assembled, far more than necessary for subjugating a pre-FTL world, but Vorax was nothing if not thorough. The Confederation's warnings are baseless, he told his assembled commanders, mandibles clicking decisively. Our analysis shows humans are divided into nearly 200 political entities with incompatible military systems. They have no unified planetary defense. His second-in-command, Commander Grack, appeared less certain. Admiral, perhaps we should consider the intelligence officer's assessment. The Solari rarely involve themselves in military matters. If this Talia felt compelled to speak. The Solari are weak, Vorax interrupted. They mistake compassion for wisdom. The Krasian Empire needs the resources of Sol III, and Emperor Kha'Zix will not be denied due to superstitious fears about primitive apes. He activated the tactical display, showing Earth's major population centers and military installations. We will follow standard conquest protocols. Simultaneous strikes on military command structures, followed by targeted population center attacks to demonstrate our power. Experience shows most species surrender after witnessing destruction of their 3 largest cities. The plan was comprehensive. The Krasian had conquered 17 worlds using similar strategies, always with minimal losses. Earth would be no different. Deployment begins in 6 standard cycles, Vorax announced. Ready your battle groups. As the commanders dispersed, Commander Grack lingered, mandibles working nervously. Admiral, I've reviewed the human historical records provided by Confederation intelligence. Their responses to aggression are unusual. Noted, Commander, Vorax replied dismissively. But remember, no species has ever withstood Krasian might for long. The Krasian vessels emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their obsidian hulls absorbing sunlight rather than reflecting it. 27 capital ships positioned themselves strategically around Earth, while smaller vessels established orbital dominance. For 18 minutes, they remained silent, allowing human detection systems to register their presence. On Earth, chaos erupted. Emergency sirens wailed across cities worldwide. Military forces scrambled fighter jets that seemed absurdly small against the alien vessels. World leaders were rushed to secure locations. Admiral Vorax stood on the command deck of the inevitable conquest, satisfaction evident in his posture. Begin the demonstration, he ordered. The first strikes targeted military installations, air bases, naval ports, missile silos. Precision energy weapons carved destruction across Earth's surface. Next came government centers. Washington, D.C., Beijing, Moscow, and other capitals faced devastating attacks from orbit. When the initial barrage ended, Vorax opened a planet-wide transmission. People of Earth, the translation appeared on every functioning electronic device. I am Admiral Vorax of the Krasian Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender your remaining military forces and prepare for occupation. Resistance will bring only further destruction. The response was not what he expected. Instead of capitulation, Earth's fragmented nations united with surprising speed. Emergency protocols established a global defense coordination center in a hardened facility beneath the Alps. Military commanders from former enemy nations worked side by side, pooling resources and intelligence. Dr. Elena Reyes, formerly NASA's head of propulsion research, addressed the hastily assembled military council. They're advanced, but not gods. Their weapons use principles we can understand. Their ships emit energy signatures we can track. Give me data from the attacks, and we can find weaknesses. In orbit, Admiral Vorax received the humans' formal response. A barrage of nuclear missiles launched from submarines that had survived the initial strikes. While Krasian defenses easily neutralized the primitive weapons, the attempt at resistance irritated him. Deploy ground forces, he commanded. Secure the primary resource extraction zones. The first Krasian troops landed near major mineral deposits and water sources. Their powered armor and energy weapons made short work of conventional military resistance. Human soldiers, outmatched by alien technology, adapted with alarming speed. abandoning direct confrontation for hit-and-run tactics, using their knowledge of terrain to ambush Krajin patrols. Commander Grak's concerned reports began arriving daily. "Admiral, the humans are not following expected surrender patterns. They're sacrificing cities to preserve fighting capacity. They're studying our technology from salvaged equipment. They're dying," Vorex interrupted. "As all who oppose the Krajin must, intensify the attacks." 3 months into the invasion, Krajin forces controlled 20% of Earth's surface, mainly uninhabited resource-rich areas. Human resistance had coalesced into a surprisingly effective global network. Dr. Reyes and her international team of scientists worked relentlessly, reverse engineering Krajin technology from captured equipment. Their first breakthrough came from analyzing the Krajin communication systems. By creating precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses that disrupted alien transmissions, human resistance forces could temporarily blind enemy units. The second breakthrough was more significant. Study of a downed Krajin fighter revealed vulnerabilities in their power distribution systems. Human engineers developed projectile weapons that could penetrate specific points in Krajin armor, causing catastrophic energy releases. 6 months after the invasion began, the unified Earth forces launched their first major counteroffensive. Commander Layla Khan, formerly of the Pakistani Air Force, led a desperate mission against the Krajin's main Antarctic base. Using modified aircraft equipped with the new weapons, her forces penetrated Krajin defenses long enough to deploy a special operations team. As Krajin reinforcements arrived, the human team detonated explosives strategically placed at the base's power core. The resulting chain reaction destroyed not only the base, but 3 Krajin shuttles still on the ground. On the command ship, Admiral Vorex received the news with mandibles clicking in fury. How did primitives breach our defensive perimeter? How did they know where to strike? Commander Grak's response was subdued. "Admiral, we may have underestimated human adaptability." The Confederation's warning. "Deploy the orbital bombardment platforms," Vorex interrupted. "It's time to show these humans the full might of the Krajin Empire." As he gave the order, alarms blared throughout the ship. A human spacecraft, cobbled together from captured Krajin technology and Earth components, was on a collision course with the inevitable conquest. Vorex watched in disbelief as the crude vessel evaded point defense systems through a series of unpredictable maneuvers. When Krajin tractor beams finally caught it, the humans detonated their ship, creating an electromagnetic pulse that temporarily disabled the command vessel's communications. In that moment of confusion, 200 more human craft launched from hidden facilities across Earth, each targeting a different Krajin vessel. Some were destroyed by alien defenses, but others reached their targets, disabling engines, weapons, or communication systems. For the first time, Admiral Vorex felt something alien to the Krajin warrior caste: doubt. Relentless pursuit. 3 years into the occupation of Earth, Admiral Vorex paced the command deck of his flagship. The holographic displays surrounding him showed a planet that refused to submit. What should have been a simple conquest had become a grinding war of attrition. "Another supply convoy lost," he hissed, mandibles clicking in fury. "That makes 7 this month alone." The tactical officer's posture conveyed clear discomfort. "Yes, Admiral. Ambushed in the region they call Siberia. The humans used our own weapons against us." The Krajin Empire had never faced such resistance. 3 years of increasingly brutal tactics had failed to break human resolve. Instead, each escalation seemed to strengthen their determination. Worse, humans were adapting Krajin technology at an alarming rate. Commander Grak, now bearing scars from 2 assassination attempts by human special forces, reviewed the latest intelligence. "Admiral, we've lost contact with Outpost Sigma. All 47 personnel presumed dead." "How?" Vorex demanded. "The outpost had energy shields and automated defenses. The humans tunneled beneath it. Our sensors detected nothing until they detonated devices directly under the shield generators." Grak paused. "Admiral, Perhaps it's time to consider the Confederation's assessment was correct. These humans don't fight like rational beings. We will not retreat. Vorex slammed a clawed appendage against the console. Emperor Khazix demands results. We control the orbital approaches. We have superior technology. We will prevail. But his words lacked conviction. The Krasians still held technological advantages, but the gap was narrowing. In hidden laboratories around the world, human scientists had made extraordinary progress. In an underground facility beneath the ruins of Cambridge University, Dr. Maya Chen worked tirelessly. Once a theoretical physicist, she now led Earth's most critical research division, alien technology adaptation. Her workspace was cluttered with dismantled Krasian devices, handwritten equations, and endless cups of cold tea. "I think I've got it," she announced to her international team. She adjusted a final connection in the device before her, a modified version of a Krasian shield generator. Their shields operate on principles similar to our theoretical understanding of quantum field manipulation, just far more advanced. She activated the device. A shimmering field of energy surrounded a test area. The power requirements are still massive, but we can now produce localized defensive shields. Her colleague, Dr. Ibrahim Okafor, looked up from his workstation. Just in time. The resistance forces in Australia captured a Krasian fighter last week, mostly intact. Chen's eyes widened. Engine technology. Yes, Ibrahim confirmed. If we can reverse engineer their FTL drive, we can take the fight beyond Earth, Chen finished. The human resistance had evolved from desperate defense to structured opposition. Command cells operated independently, but coordinated through a secure communication network based on modified Krasian technology. Manufacturing had gone underground, literally, with facilities built in abandoned mines and natural cave systems. General Marcus Rivera, formerly of the Brazilian Special Forces, now commanded Earth's unified military response. In a secure bunker beneath the Ends, he reviewed the latest breakthrough with cautious optimism. Dr. Chen's shield technology changes everything, he told his assembled commanders. For the first time, we can protect our bases from orbital detection. Colonel Amara Osi, head of the African Continental Defense Force, leaned forward. "And the fighter captured in Australia, being transported to Chen's facility now," Rivera confirmed. "If her team can crack FTL technology, we move to Phase 3. Phase 3 had once seemed an impossible dream, taking the war to the Krasian. Now it was becoming reality." In orbit, Admiral Vorex received an encrypted transmission from Emperor Khazix himself. The message was brief but unmistakable in its implications. Explain continued failure or be replaced. Vorex dispatched his reply immediately. Victory imminent. New offensive being prepared. Earth resistance weakening. All lies, and Grak knew it. The commander had compiled extensive reports on human adaptive capabilities, documenting how they learned from each encounter, how they modified Krasian technology for their own use, how they formed alliance networks that reassembled themselves when leaders were killed. Most concerning was their scientific progress. Human researchers were understanding Krasian technology at an alarming rate. What had taken other conquered species decades to comprehend, humans were mastering in months. When Grak presented these findings, Vorex dismissed them. Prepare the new offensive. Target their food production centers. They cannot fight if they're starving. But as Krasian forces deployed to agricultural regions, they encountered sophisticated ambushes. Humans had anticipated the strategy and prepared accordingly. Each assault met with hidden explosive devices, modified Krasian weapons, and hit-and-run tactics that left the aliens vulnerable despite their superior armor. In his command bunker, General Rivera received the news with grim satisfaction. They're becoming predictable. Phase 3 preparations accelerate effective immediately. 6 months later, on the Krasian homeworld of Kazakh Prime, Emperor Khazix received disturbing news. A Krasian mining outpost in a neighboring system had gone silent. Scans showed destruction consistent with energy weapons, their own energy weapons. Before investigators could determine the cause, another outpost fell. Then another. When the first human ships appeared at the edge of the Krasian home system, the initial reaction was disbelief. The vessels were crude hybrids, clearly built around captured Krasian technology, but modified in ways that made no sense to alien engineers. They moved erratically, following flight paths that Krasian tactical computers struggled to predict. In his palace, Emperor Kazak summoned Admiral Vorex, recalled in disgrace from Earth. "You assured me these humans were primitives," the Emperor hissed. "Yet they now threaten our homeworld. How is this possible?" Vorex had no answer that would save him. Their adaptation rate exceeded all historical precedents. "You were warned," the Emperor interrupted. "The Confederation warned you specifically about human psychology. Now they hunt us across the stars." The human fleet, though small, struck with devastating precision. They targeted Krasian shipyards and military installations, avoiding civilian centers, a mercy the Krasian had never shown Earth. Each human vessel bore the same message, transmitted continuously in the Krasian language. "You came to our world. You killed our people. We will not stop until justice is done." 10 years after the initial invasion of Earth, representatives of the Krasian Empire stood before the Galactic Confederation to formalize their surrender. The once mighty Admiral Vorex, stripped of rank and status, watched from chains as Emperor Kazak signed the treaty. The human delegation, led by General Rivera and Dr. Chen, now wore uniforms integrating modified Krasian technology. Their demands were straightforward: full withdrawal from Earth, reparations for damage caused, and access to Galactic Confederation knowledge databases. Elder Zix, who had warned against attacking humans a decade earlier, addressed the assembly. "Let this serve as a lesson to all civilizations. The psychological profile we identified in humans is now confirmed. When threatened, they unify. When attacked, they adapt. When wronged, they remember." The elder turned to the human delegation. "The Confederation welcomes Earth as an associate member. Your species has demonstrated both remarkable resilience and, in victory, unexpected mercy." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "We came seeking justice, not extinction. The Krasian have paid for their aggression." As the session concluded, the Confederation enacted a new interstellar law, recorded in the archives of every member species: "Never attack the humans. They will hunt you forever." In a small ceremony following the treaty signing, Talia, the Solari intelligence officer who had first warned of human potential, presented General Rivera with the official restricted access designation for Earth, now a historical curiosity rather than a protection. "You understand now why we sought to protect your development path," she said. Rivera nodded, studying the document. "We were not ready for the stars. We needed more time to mature as a species." And yet, Talia observed, "when forced into the galactic community, you adapted with unprecedented speed. Humans have always been good at that." Chen said, joining them. "We don't adapt because we want to. We adapt because we must." As human ships prepared to return to Earth, carrying knowledge and technology that would transform their civilization, the message of their struggle spread throughout the galaxy. Some species require no protection beyond the simple wisdom of leaving them in peace. For in the vastness of space, there are predators and there are prey. And then there are humans who refuse to be the latter, no matter the cost.